And now, coming to you from the Pensado Media Center, powered by Westlake Pro.
How a great music company is infused with great music people. You'll find that out this week. The Indaba contest, we're in the midst of judging. Master Blaster's doing his thing. It's a holiday here in America, and we want you to take a break even around the world. You're at the place. It's Pensado's place.
And happy holidays. Hope you're getting ready to get filled up with barbecue.
Absolutely.
What's your day like?
I think my day's going to be short because I think we should get them to the barbecue and to the show.
Let's do it.
What do you think?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Hey, everybody. It is great to be with you. It is a holiday weekend here in America. We want you to take a break around the world if you can. Same with our sponsors. They should take a break too. They are the Blackbird Academy, Westlake Pro, Avid, Lander, Fab Factory, DTS, Recording Connection, and Studio 202 DC.
Ron. Our buddy Ron.
As a truncated kind of look at the show, every now and then it's important for you to be with loved ones and be with family. Take a break. So even if it's not a holiday where you are, take one on us and just take a moment for everybody here. Get filled up on cue and remember what we're doing. And remember that, you know, some of us are not as lucky to live in a country where we can do the things that we get to do.
True.
That is not something you understand till you go to one of those countries and realize you can't. So for all of us who are lucky to enjoy our craft and exercise it, let's do it. And remember, each one teach one, reach back and give to people, don't you think?
I like that.
Yeah,
I like what you just said.
It's really important. So we're coming back next week with great ITLs, other kinds of stuff. Dave is busy judging the Indaba contest. We are going to make that announcement July 19th. I think that's thereabouts. That's where we'll do that. And our good neighbors from the north, Lander, Rory, and all the team up there. You came up with a pretty cool ITL with them.
I really enjoyed it.
Daniel Rowland did it.
Yeah, I learned more than anybody. We talked about how to run some demos through so you could have a better presentation. Movie cues.
As a songwriter?
Yeah, for songwriters. Movie cues, how it can be used in post-production. It's a great platform, and check it out.
Cool.
It's really cool. Hey, I got a little special ITL for you today. You'll notice something's a little different. I got my friend Daniel Rowland here. Dan, what's up, buddy? What's
going on, Dave?
Guitar player. All the great musicians in the world are guitar players.
Frustrated guitar player.
I'm not frustrated anymore.
Nice.
We're going to be talking a little bit about Lander, but not in a traditional way that you might think we're going to do. We're going to do a little bit non-traditional. Let me ask you this. You just recently did a movie that was nominated for some Oscars, and you did it with my buddy, not my buddy, my wannabe buddy, Adrian.
Yeah, you'll have to meet him next time he's
I want to meet him, man. That must have been amazing in and of itself. We'll talk about that in the future, but you actually took the cues for the movie and ran those through Lander. Now, I didn't know what a cue was a few years ago, but it's this little short piece of music that fits in the film right somewhere.
Absolutely.
Well, I can't believe I just used the word film because I always use movie.
Well, you know, it's old school. It's all good. No, and it was as we were, working over the course of years on the film, and just banging out hundreds of these cues, changes, and arrangements and things like that. Just being able to run them all through Lander and have it just be a consistent reference for the producer and the director. So that is invaluable. Honestly, it saved me a bunch of time.
Is there a component of Lander that actually has some intelligence to it? I mean, is it making decisions that?
Yeah, that's that's why there's 75 people working on it, in Montreal constantly. It's on the AI side of things, so really making it, it's not preset based. When I first heard about it, I was thinking that maybe that was the case, but no, man, it's but smart.
That's not like hype or anything. That's
it is reacting to whatever you do. That's why a lot of people use it for mix referencing, where they'll tweak their mix and feed it back into Lander, and Lander's going to react to that specific version of the song. It's not, yeah.
Oh, and then you try to copy Lander?
Well, what people will do is it's giving them an idea of what the master is going to sound like. Whether they use Lander to master it at the end or send it to an actual engineer, they can make tweaks to their mix to adjust for any issues that aren't being compensated for. Yeah, so it's actually one of the things people use it for most, strangely enough. And then, of course, demos and things like that.
I've got some friends, songwriter friends, that they'll get a call, at midnight from their manager. Hey, tomorrow I got your meeting tomorrow at 8 in the morning, and you're scrambling to try and get stuff sound better. And so they run it through Lander, and it improves demos too.
Yeah, people use it a lot for that.
Didn't mean to cut you off, but do they still do the SoundCloud thing? I always thought that was a cool thing.
Yeah, man. Like it was last year where they connected with SoundCloud, so we connected with SoundCloud, so you can just upload directly from Lander. So yeah, just sign into your SoundCloud account and it'll go straight in. So super convenient.
Seems like convenient is a benchmark, is like a common thread that goes throughout the company, because they don't sacrifice quality for convenience. But I was up on it today, and I could just quickly and easily A/B the mastered to the non-mastered version, and that's to me that was a neat thing to have happen, because a lot of times I have to go put it in Pro Tools, and I have to do a null test to see what's different and all that. Totally. But man, it's pretty cool the way the website is constantly growing, and the process is constantly growing. It feels to me like, and if you can't talk about this, but it feels to me like it's better than it was a few months ago.
Yeah, it's like any technology, there's a lot of people working on it, a lot of people making it better. We have a whole team of mastering engineers whose sole job is to train that engine to get smarter and smarter and better, and it also is learning on its own. So yeah, it's I started there maybe 2 years ago, and I would say it's 300 times better now than it was then. And
300?
I mean, it's night and day to me, honestly. And I'm one of the engineers there, and who knows in the next 6 months to a year where it'll be. So
it's not going to be doing any mixing shit, is it?
No, we're staying out of that world. So you're
just
okay.
checking.
For
just
now.
checking.
Right.
Oh, you want to hear what I did?
Yeah, of course. Man, you've been telling me about it.
Yeah. Well, I was trying to think of some examples, and then, like usually happens, I get a little bizarre. And then I remembered this song where I actually used it a long time ago, but I updated what I did today. I took all my drums and put them through an aux. That's what I always do. I use several auxes for drums and vocals, music, bass, a couple other things. And so what I originally did was printed the drum aux. And let me play the song first. This is T-Pain guesting on my great friend Mike Rebel, who's a gifted musician and rapper. So check this out. Here's the original, a little piece.
Still in the job, starting to make me feel like I'm on one. Just pay me in God, pay me in God, pay me in God, pay me in God. You've been too busy trying to be wavy.
Okay, I'm gonna cut it right there because I want you guys to check out the record when it comes out. I did the whole album, so I'm pretty proud of it when you hear it. I think you're gonna like it. So that's the finished product. Now what I did was, I printed my drums, and so here's where I printed the original drums, and so I'm gonna play you just that. Okay. Now, here's what Lander did to just the drums. All I mastered was the drums. Quite a bit of difference. And actually, probably sounds a little bit more dynamic than what I fed them. That's kind of cool. Let me do some quick A/Bs for you. Okay, now, in the song I actually used the entire drum track through Lander, but I'm going to show you something. You don't have to do that necessarily all the time. What I did was I only decided to use the top end, but I didn't want to change the bottom end too much. So from my original, so check this out. I used a tilt EQ, and so I'm gonna play you just the lander. Okay, so now I'm going to add that back into my original. And you know what's bizarre? I didn't have to do much to make sure it was in phase. It came back in phase. That's pretty impressive right there.
Designed to do it. Yeah.
I was expecting like, you know, a good 2 or 3 minutes getting it lined up. Okay, let's do this. Okay, I've got lander turned off. Here's my original. So now let's check this out. Watch me. I'm going to start adding some of the lander back. That's the top one, and here's my original. And remember, we've got this tilt EQ thing going on. So here we go. Okay, so what I'm going to do now, guys, is I'm going to take some of this high end that we generated right here. I don't need a lot of low end. I'm pretty happy with that. And we're crossing over at about 500. Let's try a little higher, 600. I'm a little concerned about level, so I'm going to drop this down a little bit. So check this out. Watch right here. I'm going to start adding it back. Man, I can do that all day long. That's pretty cool. So you don't have to use it just by itself, which is pretty spectacular in the mix. You can use it in parallel to what you already have. Now, I did this with drums, but you could think of what you could do with vocals. Think of what you could do with music tracks. It's unlimited, and you could take this and man, do all kinds of stuff. Like instead of that, you could do something like the UAD, this one. So what if you did this? Whatever you want to do, you could gate it and just let the transients come through and then mix just the transients back in with the original. There's all kinds of things you could do once you get something that's a little more dynamic and has a lot of the things you want. You don't have to take the whole thing. You can take the parts of it that you need and use your own creative decisions to do that. It seems a little silly, but I'm telling you, think about it, try it, and you'll become addicted to this kind of stuff. And lander is a big part of what we like about it, okay? Next time.
Occasionally, when we find business people who are musical people and they happen to also make great product, sometimes we want you to know their story as well. So, welcome to our place. We had a conversation with Dave Kerzner from IK Multimedia. Check it out. An interesting starting place. We have the architect of a phrase for IK Multimedia that denotes the company's philosophy, which is musicians first, correct? Dave Kerzner's here, and Dave and his brother are instrumental players. Your brother's managing director of the company, correct?
Yeah, U.S. office.
And of the U.S. office. And one of the things I want to tell you that was really interesting for me is when we first started having a conversation about doing stuff together, I always can gauge the reaction to, you know, after 6 years and 300 plus episodes, my guys have seen a lot of, you know, equipment, software, hardware, everybody, or a lot of them. And the reaction of my guys to your stuff was so immediate from both Dave and Chongor. Like, it just made me go, whoop. So I'm not surprised that musicians first. What is the philosophy behind that? What does that denote in you guys?
Well, in a world of specs and, you know, and it's a tech world, you know, with all these different interfaces and apps for iOS, for the computer. The idea that we had, and I helped come up with this phrase, was to think, you know what, put away your manuals, just get right to it, plug and play, musicians first, thinking of the musician first, like if you're traveling and you want something portable to take with you. That's the musician. Thinking of the needs of a musician, as opposed to somebody who's just going, how can it, you know, go to this stratosphere or whatever. It's like, well, are you going to do that? Or are you going to put it in your laptop and go make some music?
Yeah, exactly. So. And you know what's interesting to me, Dave, is that I've only dealt with the out-of-loud micro monitors. You guys have dealt with a lot more in Chongor. But I don't think that their philosophy has sacrificed any of the quality.
Oh, absolutely not.
Like, it's simple. But it's still fire. Is that your sense?
Their building's next door to the Ferrari plant. That tells you their quality.
Yeah, it's absolutely that's absolutely correct. I mean, we were talking about different. Like, talk about some of the gear. What I love about what you guys do is that there is a musician's heart in the company. Obviously, musicians first. But you and your brother are musicians, and the company's got musicians.
Well, actually, no, I'm the musician, and he's the businessman. Doesn't play a note.
So he was faking as the musician when it was really you.
This might be a good time for me to bring up a product that they made that I truly hate and hated.
Which was what?
Well, the T-Rax. Whenever I would get a session that had that on it, the mastering plugin that they came out with, one of the early products.
Yeah, the first.
It was really hard to beat that, unless you were a mastering engineer, in which case it was kind of hard to beat it. And me and all my friends, as you know, all my friends are mix engineers, we would just bitch about that because we just got through with a piece of gear by TC Electronics that was the bane of our existence. And here comes a piece of software that everybody can afford. And man, I remember cussing that thing out. So what any
That's a stamp of approval.
what any smart engineer would do, we all bought it.
Right, absolutely.
That way we could take the client's settings and start from there and then beat that, you know. And that's when I first realized the company. We all kind of heard the name. I mean, they have a good reputation. But that's when they first got on my radar, and since then, they've just, I own half those, well, I own all those plugins. That Masalek in the middle, the gray one, that thing's a beast. I can sit here and point out all the stuff I use. Oh, looking up in the right-hand corner, what's over there, Dave?
What's your, what is generally the product development cycle? I'm sure it depends on the product, but from the idea, the inception, the beta, to building, the beta testing?
Well, IK, first of all, it's the main headquarters where the developers are is in Modena, Italy, right down the street from the Ferrari factory.
Of which I think we need to go tour.
Oh,
that's
yeah.
That's another discussion.
And where they make
samples.
balsamic vinegar as well. And Lamborghini's close by, too.
Yeah, they
So
have
2
samples.
cars, good food, and good gear.
And interestingly enough, there's a similar philosophy of craftsmanship and perfectionism. You know, they really care about it, the developers, and they're also innovators. T-Rax, the first version you mentioned, came out in 1999, before there was even plugins, and before anybody had like modeled analog compressors and EQs and gave them a face like the gear.
Groundbreaker.
And then as soon as it was possible to do VSTs, RTAs, different plugins, IK was right on it, and then did T-Rax, and then over the years has developed it to be a system where you can put them in a chain inside the shell. The shell we call CS, which is Custom Shop. It's actually free. So you can download T-Rax CS for free. And then you can add to it with this Custom Shop. It's sort of like, you know, you just buy a la carte. I want a model of a Pultec. I want a model of a Fairchild. You add it. And all the popular gear is modeled these days. So the development process is basically, I mean, it depends on the product.
Sure,
I come from the sound development side for the virtual instruments, sample tank, for instance, based. But for the modeling, which IK was one of the first to do analog modeling.
The guitar modeling
Amplitude, for
groundbreaking.
instance, with amps, partnerships with Fender, officially, Ampeg, Soldano, Orange. There's a process that, you know, I couldn't speak as a developer myself, but I could tell you in sort of layman's terms. It's a combination of mimicking the schematics, doing measurements, audio measurements, and using your ears, and having the real thing there to A/B.
Yeah.
And I've seen some offices where it's all theoretical, and I'm like, but you have to have it there because sometimes there's just some je ne sais quoi,
That's right.
whatever it is.
That's
that,
right.
You know, so that's why I think the products are very musician friendly, or you say the quality's there. It's very musical. Everything about it is very organic, very like, you know, feels like the real hardware and software. And that's probably what, well, first of all, I'm sure on the guitar side, for instance, that's what made artists like Slash, which we have official Slash, Hendrix Foundation, you know, companies like Fender, be able to say, yes, you know, we will put our name on this because
That's
it's
amazing.
that, you know,
That says a lot.
accurate.
I can't speak for everyone, but for most of the people I know, when the guitar plugin came out, I didn't want to like it. I mean, no matter how good it was, I wasn't going to like it. And I'm not that way anymore. It used to be early on in the software process in the late 90s. You just didn't want to give up your Marshall. You just didn't want to give up that kind of control. But it changed everything also. And a lot of the products you were coming out with, even to this day, how does the company react to the resistance part of it? Do the designers think, okay, what are the things that these guys are going to bitch about the most? Let me fix those first. Or they just try to make a great product and then seduce us and win us over naturally, you know?
I think that. I mean, essentially, you know, there's going to be, well, and there has been a paradigm shift, you know, essentially these new tools, and it's like, well, how do you use it? And what happens is you start to realize, let's say as an engineer, hey, you know, nothing beats my Marshall and my Fairchild in the rack. It's like, well, but how many Fairchilds do you have?
Right.
One? Like, well, you could put one on every channel, a model of a Fairchild, or you could put a Pultec on every channel. You know, your Marshall, it's like, okay, if you record the Marshall, I mean, it could sound great with a 57 or U67 or whatever you have. But I tend to, because I'm an engineer myself, record, even if I like recording amps. I have an old Vox AC30 and, you know, some staple pieces in my studio. But I'll record, I'll split it off, and I'll do a dry signal just in case. I'm like, you know,
I think that's the way
I want
to
to
do it.
change it. And when it comes to like reamping with Amplitude, it's so fast and you have so many options that as an engineer, having something like Amplitude is amazing because you can take a track that maybe, you know, the guy's amp didn't sound that good, or there was bleed in the mic, or there's something wrong, and you're like, you know what? Let me take this DI signal and just have my way with it.
Absolutely.
Also, too, Dave, and you guys listen up. I'm kind of over this comparing things. I think now the prudent and a smart person doesn't look at a new piece of software and go, let me compare it to what it's emulating, or synthesizing, or trying to be like. And I think we're over that now. This A/B shit is just tiring and boring now.
Right.
You use Amplitude for Amplitude. If you've got a Marshall, use it.
Sure.
And I've got some friends, I'm not going to mention names, but they blend in a little bit of Amplitude with every amp known to man, you know? And it's a different world. The efforts to try and make the analog side of our profession have mythological and godlike status is over. And now we're coming to a point where if you got some analog gear, use it. If you don't, use this. If you got whatever you want to use, you can use all 52 cards in the deck. Why shortchange yourself in just using plugins or just using analog? And there's affordable analog gear now that's just amazing. But everybody I know that's in the box says the same thing eventually. Man, I'm just trying to get more in the box. I hate documenting all this stuff. I hate
total recall.
the part of being in the box is being able to move quickly, and you know, I'm at a point now where I'm rethinking some things. I still got about 20 pieces of gear I like to use, and I own them. But I think looking at software as something you compare to the hardware, that's like comparing to your mama's cooking. Nobody's going to win that battle. So get your head straight and look at them as individual things. They're not, just because it has a Fender logo on it, don't expect it to sound like a Fender. Expect it to sound better.
Yeah, could sound
Why
better.
not?
Do you guys, it seems to me that you guys are really specific about the price point also being musicians first too.
Of course. Yeah.
Is that part of the philosophy of IK Multimedia?
Yeah, well, I mean, there's essentially two sides to the company now. We started off mainly as a pro audio oriented company with plugins for Pro Tools and Cubase and Logic. And then with the explosion of iOS devices and everything else, we became extremely popular
iOS dudes,
with iRig
and
and interfaces, keyboards, microphones, of course, speakers, monitors,
yes, indeed.
and now and the guitar input was probably our biggest product, iRig, and the various forms of iRig, with Amplitube as an app. And so this is, and those are all like sort of $99 and below. You know, you can get them at the Apple Store, even not just Guitar Center and Target, and you can get them a lot of different places. So, but it's really interesting how yet the quality of the craftsmanship and the coding and everything is for the pros, and that's the mentality. Not something cheap just to be cheap. It's cheap because, let's say, there's a way to make it with this feature set and at this price as an entry level. And if you want it to be more, there's different tiers. Yeah, it's musician friendly pricing, very fair pricing. It's very affordable. It's one of those things, like I was mentioning, the custom shop. Each of the main flagship software products, Amplitube for guitar, Sample Tank for keyboard players and songwriters, and producers if you play sequencing, and then T-Rax for the engineer producer. Each of them has a CS free version that you can download. And it works completely. So it's not like a timed out demo.
Some people might not understand the CS. Explain that.
Well, custom shop means that CS stands for custom shop. You download it for free, and it's essentially comes with a few of the models inside it just for free that you can use. I mean, it's totally, you might as well have that. And then you have the option to buy either individual models of effects or samples and things. Like some of the samples I do for Sample Tank or Neil Peart drums, I produced that. Alan Parsons piano, with Alan, and we recorded a piano like Dark Side of the Moon style. So these are the things you can add to your setup, and then you can buy bundles of them, or they go on sale and different things. So it's always very musician-friendly, inviting to say, depending on your budget, you can just max it, or you can do it over time and collect. It's like collecting. People like to I collect stomp boxes and compressive vintage, right?
Sure,
we love that stuff, and I don't stop just because I have it in software. But to me, it's fun and more affordable for some people as well, because one of my stomp boxes I think costs like $2,000 or something for a Univibe or whatever, and you can just download the Univibe for $5.
Unbelievable.
What are the original tube screamers going for now, like the 808 tube screamer?
Yeah, probably I don't know, $500 or something crazy like that.
I think they're going for thousands.
Really?
After Stevie Ray Vaughan.
Right.
Sorry.
Oh no, I was going to say the company's how big? About.
Well, there's my brother runs the U.S. office. We just bought a new building, and there's probably about 50 people in there. And then there's the main headquarters is in Modena, Italy. We have a station in Asia, and then in the UK. So I mean, globally, it's a pretty big company, and also because we've done for an MI company, because we've partnered up with Apple, and they've had us in the Super Bowl ad. Because it's fun. It's fun to be able to plug a guitar into your iPad and rock out. So, we're sort of a hip company for them, and we're in the Apple Store and stuff. So it's pretty large for an MI company.
Absolutely.
So.
But it speaks to, you can't get that large or get that kind of adoption and integration unless the stuff is good.
Oh yeah.
Right. I mean, the stuff has to. Yeah, absolutely.
If you'd have said 10 years ago, man, desktops are going to be obsolete. Everything's going to be a laptop. They have the same processing power and perhaps more than an average desktop. And 10 years from now, we're probably going to be saying that about tablets. And IK has been in the forefront of understanding that shift in technology, and the new iPad Pro 2 is going to change the world. Two questions. Part A, what's your commitment to the PC world in terms of all of these technologies? Because most of the world uses PCs outside of America. And what can we expect in terms of the iOS device in the future?
Well, first of all,
am I right?
I think so, absolutely. I have to say the CEO of IK Multimedia, Enrico Iori, is a genius visionary. He immediately looked at the iOS when it came out and thought music applications and was the first to do.
The MIDI's getting really good too now. I mean, it's like...
And of course, but seeing it back then and then being a leader in it, in iOS, that world, when let's say other pro audio companies, other software manufacturers were looking at it as like, oh, it's a toy, or oh, what do you have to sell it for? $10?
Right.
$1?
Right.
99 cents? What's this world? No, we, and so, but by doing scalable products of different features, but, packing in a lot of value into an iOS, it's sort of, there's like a convergence going along in sync, it seems, with Macs, Apple, iOS devices. Seem to be like, is the tablet sort of coming to the computer? Is the computer coming? Is it eventually going to be one thing we can, and I think already, actually, speaking of PC, Dave, is there's, in fact, I want to get one. It's a tablet that's a PC, so it's like similar to an iPad, but it runs Windows. So you can run our full versions of our plugins, and some people have been doing that live.
The iPad Pro 2 is going to be that same thing.
iPad Pro 2.
I can't wait.
I know. It's exciting, and it's cool how the technologies meet, because there's certain things you can do with a touch screen that are also musical.
Exactly.
We also make accessories, and very popular accessories like the iClip, which a lot of musicians use to be able to take your iPad and clip it to a mic stand for your lyrics.
At the last award show, I watched that.
Things like that.
Literally, I was like, oh, how cool is that? Yeah, absolutely. Your history too now, and part of the musician's first thing comes from the standpoint that you're a musician and an engineer and all that kind of stuff. You have lived this way and worked with, incredible Alan Parsons, Phil Collins' son, on and on and on. Trace the journey. What did you just say? Look, I want to meet chicks, and I'm gonna learn how to play guitar.
No.
How does? Oh, that's not a bad motivation, by the way. But
no, never that motivation for me. I literally, since I was about 14 years old, in high school, I was, instead of like going around vandalizing and getting drunk, whatever, I have my little Tascam 4-track rack, which sounded pretty decent. And I played producer, and I'd be like, can you do that take again to like my friend who's a drummer? He'd be like, who made you the producer? I'm like, oh, I have the gear.
Yeah, right. Yeah, exactly.
I know how to use this stuff. So I always wanted to make records, and looked up to bands. Ironically, one of my favorite bands was Genesis.
Yeah.
And then eventually I worked with them, and they use our software. They all use IK Multimedia
Do they
software.
really? Oh, how cool is
my
that?
samples. And that's how I met Phil Collins' son, Simon Collins. I created a band with him called Sound of Contact. And I've done other things since then. I mean, before then, I played in a band with Kevin Gilbert, who Tim Pierce played with as well. And a lot of those guys when I lived in LA. So I've just, I've always been a musician myself, and recording and producing. And then when I did sample libraries, it was like have a field day with taking, for the first time we had Nick Mason from Pink Floyd and Alan Parsons work together since Dark Side of the Moon with an EMI TG12345 console. Or I had another project where it was me and Ken Scott, who had recorded the Beatles and David Bowie. And what we did is we had Woody Woodmansey from Bowie's band, Bob Siebenberg from Supertramp, recreate the sound with the original Trident A-range board. I mean, not a Trident because it's gone, but we would find the last remaining Trident consoles, Trident A-ranges, and used all the same mics and everything and recreated the drum sound. So I'm a real studio buff, history buff. I love all the records that you guys make. I'm just a big fan of it. And it's really cool.
I'm not history.
You're ongoing.
No,
you're a
he
legend.
said you're buff.
Oh,
That's what it was.
but I could relate to the chicks and guitar thing, though.
Well, yeah. Well,
look at this face. You need help.
But it seems to me that the diversity of that path and journey, and that passion is somehow infused in the company because it seems to go into the product as well. Is that fair?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly can't. I have my influence,
sure,
you know, almost as a third party because I develop sounds. I've actually developed sounds over the years for Roland, for Elisa's, for other companies and everything too. So my passion is recording sounds and then using them myself as a musician. I'm mainly a keyboard player.
Sure.
But you know, I've always been you know, bugging them like, you got to model this thing. You got to model the Boss CE1, man. That is the best chorus. You know, things like that. And then, of course, you know, and everyone else at the company has their passion as well. And so all of that is very, I mean, it's like a cliche when they say, you know, made by musicians for musicians, but it really is that. It's like, you know, Enrico, the owner, is a guitar player himself. Yeah, and you know, he came up with, like, for instance, he loves this story. There's a new product called iRig Acoustic Stage, right, which is a really unique product because it looks like a pickup and it acts like a pickup, but it's a microphone. And the reason he thought of it, he was watching Paco de Lucia play, like a recording of it, whatever, and he noticed there's this weird little Sony mic, one of those little mic. He said, "What a great idea!" Like, you know, to make it like a pickup, but it's a microphone, and then you can mix in the pickup.
It's like a lavalier mic.
Yeah, like a little lavalier mic, but design, and then there's a little bit of modeling in the box to kind of make up for any sort of EQ and this and that, and that's that product. So, I mean, very sort of just looking at musicians and thinking like, what would be practical? You know, because of course, if you mic a guitar, you have to stay right there. You can't move around.
Right. So this makes complete sense.
I'm going to say something that has no bearing on anything. I heard something that was really interesting, like some of the sample packs that you have. A lot of people don't think of them this way, and I didn't until it was recently brought to my attention. But sometimes when you sing something yourself and you're recording yourself, you don't have the same objectivity as when you hear somebody else singing. So all my best guitar parts end up on the erase head because I can't produce myself. I think I can always do better.
Right.
But when somebody produces me, they get more out of me than I can. And when I produce somebody else, I'm pretty doggone good. So if you take a loop and start with a loop, you're starting with something that your taste has said, this is really good. And so you're not starting from scratch. If you start from scratch, you might do something good, you might not do something good, you won't ever know. But if you apply that same logic to starting with a known loop that you like and then build on top of that, that's the same thing as somebody like Max Martin getting a track from an employee and starting with that. He can start with something he likes and builds on that. So the concept of loops should be thought of not just as cheating, but as a creative tool that's really, really, really useful. And so particularly in some types of music, people don't talk about that in terms of the loop, because I know a lot of people that start with a loop, get the song going, and then take the loop out.
Sure, you can do that too. Why not?
And have you ever thought about that?
I do, and actually, it's interesting. You know, it doesn't really matter because the most important thing to me is the song.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And so how you get there, you know, if it inspires you or it's quick, you know, sometimes just sitting there like coming up with something or you know, if it's a groove from, you know, Billy Cobham, he's probably going to play a groove, we have a library with him, that you're not going to come up with.
Right.
But it might inspire you to play something.
Absolutely.
And the same thing, we have a product called Miroslav Philharmonic, which I helped develop, and it's an orchestra. And I gave it to, I turned Tony Banks from Genesis onto this, and he's doing classical records, right?
How cool is that?
And so he's using a real orchestra, but he needed something to mock it up with and to kind of hear it with. So he used it, and then he sent me a thank you, and he sent me the record, and I was like, that is so
Very cool, man.
One of my big records, I'm not going to name names because I might get in trouble, but it was a big record in the mid-'90s. And I had live strings and I had synth strings. And I didn't use the live strings. I used the synth strings because the live strings made it sound kind of old and tired.
Right.
And I used the live strings for the intro, which made the listener think they were still hearing live strings in the song. But live strings tend to be played late and lazy. And
Casey and JoJo. I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call you out.
I take the fifth.
No, it's okay. It's all
right. What was that Chappelle skit?
That record.
Oh, Michael Jackson skit.
Killed me.
But a lot of people blend the two as well. To try, you know, let's say you had a smaller orchestra, you couldn't really afford a big one, but you wanted to sound like the London Symphony, you know, and you just, why not?
I think we're really, in the beginning of the golden age, a new golden age of recording. You know, when you look at the history of recording, and you should be looking at the history of recording so you'll know the future, there's been several big leaps, and we'll stay on a plateau for a while, and then a big leap, and I think we're in that right now.
Well, to take that point,
it really feels that way to me.
How do you guys see the future? What's the focus moving forward for the company?
Well, you know, I can speak for myself in saying that it's interesting what you say, Dave, because, you know, some of us were around when there was tape mixed, you know, and that you had to pay to go to the studio, and you really valued that time. Right. And now you can get GarageBand for free. You can get, you know, all these T-Rack CS for free, all these tools for free. So really, and of course you can sell it now. You don't even need a record label per se. You can put it on, anyone can put their album on iTunes, for instance, or whatever, Amazon. So now, for this to happen, artists need to value these tools to understand them. They watch your show, for instance, they learn about them. They really get to, you know, not just use it and slap something together, but really craft something and learn the skills.
It's okay to slap stuff together too.
Yeah. Either way, if they're being creative and the output is appealing to people, then I think it could be like a renaissance of independent music.
Like to me.
I think
using
so
these
too.
tools are so readily available.
Plus, the UFO people say that because there's an infinite number of possibilities for life on another planet, there have to be aliens. And there's an infinite number of people making records right now, so that
some of them are aliens.
We have to have the best music ever being made is being made now. The problem is, by the same mathematical formula, the worst music that's ever been made is being made now. And at a time when we need gatekeepers like the labels weren't as bad as we thought they were to keep some of the bad stuff out, it is a golden age of accessibility. If you've got the ambition, you can create some great. I know people that don't know how to play an instrument that create some incredible music, and I'm a person that spent a lot of hours woodshedding on my musical chops. And if I could have done that in an afternoon and not have to spend years of my life practicing piano and guitar, I'd be so much happier. So that's the future. Is music is more important than the tools used to create it. Much like a house. Who cares if it was a screwdriver or a saw or an electric drill or whatever?
We're fans of the. Thank you for that, Dave.
You're welcome.
Okay, pleasure.
West Side.
Besides being fans of some of the other stuff, we got a real good dose of the iLoud micro monitor. They are just insane. We've been running the sweepstakes. It's been doing really well and awarding stuff. And what's amazing to me is that the musician first ethos are in those. But a guy like you can mix with them. A guy like me can just plug them up, plug them in, go, put them in a rack and go. As the future comes to us, right? Because we've been talking about Facebook and all these other kinds of things, and all this evolution of music. Do you feel that this time is energizing for where we're going? Do you play cautious? Do your metrics show positive growth? Is it a good time for the music space? And does the music space now evolve more than just making records and making music? Because we see it as a hybrid kind of space.
Great question.
You're in all the arts. You're where sound is, and sound goes lots of different places. Is that fair?
Well, from a company perspective, making products like iLoud Micro Monitor, it's exciting because we've found a niche somewhere in between the smallest studio reference monitor for that real world test, you know, like Oratones used to be, and then, you know, like that. So you've got your whatever barefoots and your big expensive, and then, you know, your NS10s and then this. And you sort of check it between there, just make sure, you know, right? So that's what's great for a lot of engineers that are making records. But then there's you wanting to listen to, I mean, they're computer speakers. They're as small as computer speakers. They have Bluetooth. They have, you know, there's even little things like, let's say, I mean, I don't know how many studio monitors have Bluetooth, probably none of them. But I was just doing a session with them portably in my hotel room because I'm traveling right now. And but I had my mixer hooked up to it and everything. And I'm like, no, like this. And normally I have my iPhone, like literally seconds, I Bluetoothed into the speaker without even connecting anything, without disconnecting anything. I was like, oh, wow. So musicians first, thinking of workflow, thinking of uses. And the other thing is, when I'm traveling, and you ever notice like you try to watch a movie and the laptop speakers aren't loud enough?
Oh, God.
These are great. You just put them there and you have your own little movie theater.
Funny story about these babies. So my friend Bob comes by and I said, man, I like your little iLouds. Man, I love them. I said, how you working? He said, well, I got them on my desk. I said, oh, that's cool. And I roll off a little low end. I'm like, me too. Like, am I the only one that gets the joke here? Like a speaker this big rolling off low end. Right. But a speaker like this.
Nice to have it to roll off.
And you're rolling off low end. What does that say about this bad little boy? It's got some serious low end. And
really brilliantly designed.
And you can roll it off, So it's like, I found that incredibly funny. Like there's a joke about the ant floating down the river on his back, yelling, "Raise the drawbridge." That's like this little speaker here.
And if you can make that correlation, I will find that just to be a feat of linguistic agility, bar none.
Well, you get it right. He's lying on his back with an erection, yelling, "Raise the drawbridge."
Ah, okay, great. And
a little
that ties
ant.
into the iLoud.
A little ant that you have to roll the low end off. That's incredible.
We just wanted to pull it together for the audience.
I guess my nerd and geek side is showing. Hey, a nerd and a geek would be a GERD.
Now, here's where which is actually
I love those things.
Tied into acid reflux. Oh. So just so you know that there's an acronym for that. Now,
that's right. That's right.
Right. Let's go to batter's box and see what you.
Oh.
All right. So Dave K is up against Dave P.
No contest.
I'm going to put my faith over here to the left because the left generally always wins. Okay. All right, so we know the correlation.
I'm going to review the rules quickly because I'm going to go hard on this one.
All right, cool. Review quickly.
So what we're going to do this time is I'm going to say a particular concept or instrument or something, and you tell me what IK Multimedia product is best for it. Quickly.
Okay.
Guitar.
Amplitude.
Ooh.
Synth.
Syntronic, which is coming out.
Ooh.
Kick.
T-Rex.
He's got bat speed.
Snare.
T-Rex.
Ooh.
From the room.
Which one?
Sample pack.
Expansion tank.
Vocals.
T-Rex, let's say LA2A model. White 2A it's called.
Mastering.
Larson Mastering Console.
Yeah, but our boy. Strings.
Miroslav Philharmonic too.
iOS.
iRig.
Oh, that's so boring. Take one off of that. Everybody knows that's the best. Okay. This is gonna be a test.
Okay.
Studio monitors.
iLoud Micro Monitor. That's easy. Did I win?
What
do I win? Do I win a pair?
2 hours. Everybody knows they're great.
Well, now you have to ask the studio question. If something burned down, what would you?
You know what? I was thinking about that. If you had to go to the owner of IK Multimedia and ask him to eliminate one product from the product line, what would it be?
The iRing, which was eliminated. It was a cool product. I mean, in the sense, it was like a theremin. It was like a ring you could put on and you could just sort of, woo, woo. But it just, all it was really was 3 dots on a ring. And it was clever because the camera will look at those 3 dots and you can use it as a controller. But nobody really got it. We just, like, we give out party favors. Everyone wants one. Every time I mention it, I want one.
Everybody wants
Maybe we'll
one.
bring it back.
That's funny. The great part about our business is that sometimes form factor meets passion, meets, ability, and you get to, do what you love as a musician, but also share it with other people, which is part of the journey we all get to do.
Yeah.
I think that's what you get to do with mixing, and that's what you get to do with the show, and that's what we get to do with
It's what you wake
product.
Up to do.
And then what you guys, I wish you could be part of this. whenever we meet over sushi,
Oh yeah.
it's a good trend. Like the sign is good, and we did some serious sushi. Thanks to IK Multimedia.
Man.
The Florida boys stepped up. We sushi'd up. I mean, just having Chongor
Chiba
sushi.
stock doubled that day.
Chiba stock did, and Chongor.
Thanks again, man.
We got more to do because
I ain't gonna lie.
Well, it's just up the street. You're very lucky.
Yeah, no, it's close. It's
I ain't
close.
gonna lie. When it was free, I ate way more than I should have.
Well, and
Thanks to IK and Dave.
And what we think is that this is a really cool match.
Yeah.
And we got stuff to do, and it's
Definitely.
early on, but there's Amplified Miami and a bunch of other stuff that we're playing around with.
Excited about
T-Rex, other things as well.
Yeah.
Too. DP, take us home. It's been a good one.
West Side.
Your gang thing is because it's so non-gang.
That's what makes it funny. Technology is a wonderful thing, and it sure seems like the pace isn't as steady as we thought. We always knew it was somewhat logarithmic and doubles and doubles and doubles. And a good way to keep up with this is to go to a lot of the manufacturers' websites, be judicious in where you go, and check out the technology and master it before it comes out and be comfortable with it, because the biggest impediment to understanding technology is fear. And there's nothing to fear. The stuff's really simple, but you got to kind of put a little time in at the beginning of a trend and catch them and then grow with it. And there's no better time to get your feet wet right now. And if you're already technological, it's a great time to be making records. I mean, the access to the playing field is unlimited right now. Anybody can make a great record right now. Anybody. Not everybody will. But it's a great time to be making records, and the technology, and IK Multimedia is one of those companies that exemplifies that. So we'll see you next time.
Peace.